Ito ang Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang naiba at kakaibang plataforma sa digital broadcast mula Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao hanggang sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo. Broad Streamcast Communicators, ang sandigan ng sambayanan mula sa walang labis at walang kulang na pagbabalita, paglilingkod, maglalahad ng mga mapagbuong komentaryo at usaping pambayan para sa kapakanan ng karamihan. Broad Streamcast Communicators, tuwirang maglilingkod ngayon hanggang sa susunod na henerasyon. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Ating tunghayan, pakinggan at tuklasin ang mga pangyayari at kaganapan sa mundo ng online. Buhay Online, chikahan at kaalamang pangkabuhayan. Alamin ang pinaka-latest trends mula sa trabaho at kung hanggang saan na ang narating ng teknolohiyang ito. At ngayon, narito na ang ating host, ang ating Techie Mami, si Jaye C. Bautista.
Hello everyone, a very pleasant good morning, magandang araw po sa lahat. Happy Friday. Oo, Friday na naman. Talagang napakabilis ng oras at panahon, di ba? Friday na naman. It's my last day ng pag-broadcast for the week. And it's May 7th. May na. Grabe, diba? Birthday ko sa Sunday. But sobra talagang ang bilis ng panahon, no? Tsaka super feeling summer na talaga sa kainitan. But and yes, we're still in the pandemic, and that is what we've been talking about, is how we are surviving in this pandemic, how we are thriving in this pandemic, and how we can thrive. We've been talking about kung ano ang naging trend sa ng economy itong pandemya, and what we hope to what we expect, or what we are expecting to see in the next coming days. May mga forecast, may mga research, may mga tests. So ano yung napag-usapan natin? We talked about how the pandemic economy will shape up business nga in 2021 this year, and we also talked about the industries, or the companies and the businesses that are thriving in this pandemic. Ano yung mga negosyong nawala at ano yung mga negosyong nag-remain. Nawala tayo sa ere. Okay, there's ating connectivity. What's happening? Hala. What happened? Ayan, bumalik na tayo. That's been happening, Yesterday also that happened, yung nag-interrupt. Ayan, connectivity in the Philippines. But anyway, as I was saying, right, we talked about what businesses have remained as thriving in itong pandemya na to. Anong mga negosyo ang nag-survive nitong pandemic. But when we think about it, by next month, June 2021, the world would have been in pandemic mode for a year and a half pala sa June, right? The virus continues to spread at a slow burn. Intermittent lockdowns kasi are happening sa buong mundo. It's the new normal. On and off, parang tayo, ECQ, and ECQ, GCQ, lahat na ng ECQ, any kind of Q. Lockdown, lift ng lockdown all over the world, restart ng economy. Unapproved vaccine. Of course, when you look at it in retrospect, a year after, more than a year after the pandemic, meron ng approved vaccine that offers 6 months of protection. But international deal making has slowed its distribution. Diba? Talaga, mabagal lang pag-roll out. Sabihin na natin kung sinasabi, of course, na Amerika, yan ang sa kanila major order, mabagal ang pag-produce. Well, kasi naman, sobrang mass production ng kailangan. Pero kasi lahat ang distribution mabagal. An estimated 250 million people have been infected worldwide and 1.75 million are dead. And that's the reality of it, the sad reality, right? Scenarios such as this one, imagine how the COVID-19 pandemic might play out. Diba? Speculations, paano kaya to? How's this going to end? It's uncertain, right? Around the world, yung mga epidemiologists are constructing short and long-term projections as a way to prepare for and potentially take care of the spread and impact of SARS-CoV-2. The virus that causes COVID-19 is called SARS-CoV-2, right? Although their forecasts and timelines iba-iba, they all agree on two things. Diba? COVID-19 is here to stay. Talaga, yan ang reality, mga kababayan, my countrymen. And the reality is it is here to stay. It's not disappearing anytime soon. And the future depends on a lot of unknowns talaga, including whether people develop lasting immunity to the virus, diba? Kasi nga may vaccine na tayo, whether seasonality affects its spread, and perhaps most importantly, the choices na ginagawa ng ating mga governments all over the world, saka yung mga tao, right? Yung iba-ibang pamamalakad, iba-ibang ways to deal with the virus, saka yung mga tao nga, the way they behave, the way they're trying. Tingnan niyo sa Taiwan, right? Kinimento ko kahapon, 1,000 plus na lang ang kanilang infection sa buong bansa. 90 people dead. Pero yun, nagmamask pa rin sila araw-araw. They're living normally in the new normal. I mean, bukas sa mga negosyo, bukas sa mga opisina, pero nakamask pa rin sila, pumapasok, pa rin, wash the hands, patuloy pa nilang ginagawa nyo. And I think that's the kind of future we foresee, right? Kasi nga, COVID-19 is here to stay. Including, and we have to face the fact, including whether people develop lasting immunity to the virus or kung paano natin ito haharapin, right? A lot of places are unlocking and a lot of places aren't, diba? Tayo nga, diba? Longest lockdown na nga tayo sa buong mundo. We don't really know yet kasi what's going to happen, right? The future will very much depend on how much social mixing resumes and what kind of prevention we do. Sabi ni Joseph Wu, isang disease modeler at the University of Hong Kong. Sabi niya, recent models and evidence from successful lockdowns suggest that behavioral changes can reduce the spread of COVID-19. Yun nga yung kagaya na sinaid ko example sa Taiwan. Kahit na halos zero na ang kanilang infections doon, patuloy pa rin sila ng same safety and health protocols. Because nga, those behavioral changes can reduce the spread of COVID-19 but not necessarily all kasi people comply, right? Kaya sinasabing depende sa behavior ng tao at saka yung mga gobyerno. The number of COVID-19 infections passed 15 million globally with around 650,000 deaths. Lockdowns are easing in many countries, leading some people to assume that the pandemic is ending. Pero hindi nga Kasi nga, parang vicious cycle lang bababa. Kunyari, kagaya sa Japan, recently lang sila nag-state of emergency kasi nga dumami lang masyado. Kung noong araw kasi 200 to 100, sorry, aking walkie-talkie. 200 to 100 a day lang sila sa Tokyo, naging thousands na a day. So, bila silang nag-state of emergency, they will declare a state of emergency for a week or two. Tapos, as soon as bumaba yung number ng infections a day, open na naman nila ulit. Kasi sila, they never really locked down or disrupted the train or businesses in Japan kasi economy nga yung iniisip nila unang-una. But, yun, ngayon lumala na yung infections doon. Nag-lockdown sila, hindi, sa kanila kasi they can't declare lockdown eh. They recommend their people to stay at home. And so, obedient yung mga Hapon, they stay at home. Pero yung mga kabataan doon, ayun, lumalabas kasi nga, bukas ang mga bars doon, bukas ang restaurants, bukas ang public places, bukas nga ang movie houses eh, bukas ang amusement park. Tingnan mo, ito sa China, look at this. Oh. Ayan, ganyan na ang sinihan. Sa China, nag-open din sila ng theaters kasi sa China, halos na mababa na infections, pero safety ano pa rin sila. May social distancing sa loob ng sinihan, see? I don't know lang kung sa Japan ganyan din, pero kasi di ba enclosed yan. So yan ang nanonood ng sine. See? So I guess, baka in the future, ganyan pa rin ang pagnood ng sine. Or if ever buksan, afraid ka pa rin talagang pumunta sa isang enclosed environment like that, right? Afraid. But, diba? So, lockdowns are easing in many countries, pero, yun na nga, that's not the case. We're still here for the long haul. We don't expect it to end or die down anytime soon. If immunity to the virus lasts less than a year, for example, ang gaya, di ba, sabi nila yung potency ng vaccine is 6 months lang. For example, similar to other human coronaviruses in circulation, there could be annual surges in COVID-19 infections through up to 2025. Yan ang sabi nitong mga ating mga experts. Sabi yan ni Jonathan Grad, epidemiologist at the Harvard School of Public Health sa Boston. Okay? Ayun na nga, hanggang 2025 pa daw to kasi kung 6 months lang yung effect ng vaccine, di ba? So every year, meron pa ring surge ng COVID-19 infections up to 2025 daw. Oh my God. Here, we have to expect that, right? We have to be ready for that. So what happens in the near future, di ba? Kasi nga, ang pandemic, ang effect iba-iba sa iba't ibang countries, right? The pandemic is not playing the same way from place to place. Countries such as China, New Zealand, and Rwanda have reached a low level of cases. Kaya nga, pinakita ko yung sa China, gano'n na sila manood ng sine. After lockdowns na iba-ibang katagalan, di ba? And tapos the easing up of restrictions while watching for flares elsewhere, such as in the United States and Brazil, cases continue to rise, di ba? Naging grabe na nga sa Brazil, naging grabe na sa India, tapos sa Europe, sa States ulit, vicious cycle lang. Elsewhere, di ba? Cases are rising fast after governments lifted lockdowns quickly or never activated them. Iba kasi never had lockdowns like Japan nga. Hindi uso sa kanila yun, tsaka hindi nila kasi government nila walang right, hindi sila makapag-lockdown. In South Africa, which now ranks 5th in the world for total COVID-19 cases, a consortium of modelers estimates that the country can expect a peak in August and September of this year with around 1 million active cases. Nakakatakot. And cumulatively, as many as 13 million symptomatic cases by early November. Oh my gosh, afraid. In terms of hospital resources, they're already breaching capacity in some areas. Nakakatakot talaga, right? But, sabi nitong mga modelers at mga experts, there is hopeful news as lockdowns ease. Diba? Early evidence suggests that personal behavior changes, such as hand washing, wearing masks, or persisting beyond strict lockdown, helping to stem the tide of infections. Nakakatulong talaga. Yan talaga. Yung cleanliness, yung pag-disinfect. Patuloy pa rin natin gagawin yan kahit na bumababa ang number of infections. Kasi nga, nandiyan pa yung virus. hindi naman umaalis, right? Tapos nga sabi nila among 53 countries beginning to open up, among 53 countries beginning to open up, there hasn't been as large a surge in infection as predicted on the basis of earlier data. It's undervalued how much people's behavior has changed in terms of masks, hand washing, and social distancing. Kasi, di ba, sometimes nagiging na tayo, complacent or kampante. Ano pa rin tayo, vigilant pa rin. And let's please just practice all these safety and health protocols against the coronavirus. Sabi nila, in regions where COVID-19 seems to be on the decline, researchers say that the best approach is careful surveillance by testing, di ba, isolating new cases and tracking their contacts. Yun na nga, contact tracing pa rin importante. Sa ibang countries, hindi uso yun eh. Sa Japan, alam ko hindi sila ginagawa. This is the situation in Hong Kong, for instance. They're experimenting, making observations and adjusting slowly, okay? They expect that that kind of strategy will prevent a huge resurgence of infections. Yun nga talaga, contact tracing pa rin importante. Right? Tapos ano pa? What will happen pagka, ayan, sa mga ibang bansa, pag winter, like to, kakatapos lang ng winter, it is clear now that summer does not uniformly stop the virus, ha? But, tapos na yung winter. What happens ngayon? Summer. But warm weather makes it easier to contain the virus in temperate regions. In areas that will get colder, experts think there's likely to be an increase in transmission. Talaga naman. Many human respiratory viruses like influenza and other common coronaviruses and respiratory viruses, they follow seasonal growth or surges in our research or pag-surge. Kaya nga pag winter, sabi nila, mas yung virus. Pero buti lang tayo dito sa Pilipinas, wala naman tayong winter, forever summer. So, mas madaling mamatay yung virus dito. Pero hindi natin yan, ibig sabihin, we will be complacent, right? Unfortunately, early surveys suggest that there is a long way to go, right? The pandemic course this year will depend greatly on the arrival of course, on the rollout of this vaccine and how long the immune system stays protective after vaccination or recovery from the infection. Many vaccines provide protection for decades, such as those against measles or polio, whereas others, including whooping cough and influenza, they wear off over time. Likewise, some viral infections prompt lasting immunity, others a more transient response. Kaya, kailangan pa natin, we're still undergoing a lot of testing and R&D with regards to the potency of these vaccines. In general, diba, what do we see? Okay, COVID-19 will likely be with us forever, sabi daw eh. Here's how, let's see how we can, that's why what we have to know is how we can live with it, right? Eventually, the virus will become a much milder illness. But for now, vaccination and surveillance are critical to end this pandemic phase na, diba? As COVID-19 continues to run its course, pinaka-likeliest long-term outcome, ang pinaka-outcome nito is that the virus SARS-CoV-2 becomes endemic in large parts of the world, constantly circulating among the human population, pero causing fewer cases of severe disease or deaths. Diba, hihina daw itong virus na to, sabi ng mga specialista. Eventually, years or even decades in the future, COVID-19 could transition into a mild childhood illness. Kaya nga, parang pag nagka-flu, like the 4 endemic human coronaviruses that contribute to the common cold. Diba? Galing yung coronavirus na yan, galing nga sa SARS-CoV, tsaka coming from the flu. So, eventually, magiging ano na yan, normal na magkaroon ng flu shot or COVID-19 shot. Parang pag nagpapa-flu shot tayo bago tayo magbiyahe, di ba? Magiging gano'n na rin yun. Di ba? Damdam ko parang if enough people will get it and enough people will get the vaccine to reduce person-to-person transmission, there will be pockets of people who won't, diba? Pag there's enough people, magbe-build up ng immunities. Siyempre may mga ibang tao who won't take the vaccine. Up to na, ang dami kong kakilala or even mga estudyante ko who don't want to take the vaccine kasi takot sila sa side effects. Na kalokohan naman, lahat ng injection may side effect, diba? Therefore, dahil sa mga taong hindi nagpa-vaccine or ay magpa-vaccine, there will be localized outbreaks. But it will become one of the regular coronaviruses. Diba? Magiging normal na lang ang pagtrapa dyan sa coronavirus after a time. Pero of course ngayon, we're still trying to study it, we're still trying to contain it. It still poses imminent danger, especially those with existing conditions and weak lungs. But this, transition between being a dangerous, hazardous, or death-causing virus to a milder one, this won't happen overnight, diba? Sabi ng mga eksperto, ang SARS-CoV-2 exact post-pandemic trajectory will depend on 3 major factors. Diba? Diba? Depende to, ang paglaganap nito or ang pagpuksa dito ay nagdedepende sa 3 bagay, right? How long humans retain immunity to the virus, how quickly the virus evolves, and how widely older populations become immune during the pandemic. Ito naman, right? Depending on how these 3 factors fare out, diba? Ang ating mundo would be facing several years of a halting post-pandemic transition. Yan, panay yan. Lockdown, hindi lockdown. Tuloy-tuloy lang yan. Pero ang dapat patuloy-tuloy is yung health protocols or yung mga dapat nating gawin para to protect ourselves against the virus. And that would be our new normal talaga. It is one marked by continued viral evolution, localized outbreaks, and possible multiple rounds of updated vaccinations. That is the future that we look for, that we might expect to have. Kasi nga, vicious cycle lang yan. Pag mag-lockdown, bababa infections, whatever, vaccine, pero yun nga, continued viral evolution yan. Kasi nga, yung variants ngayon, ang dami ng variant ng virus na ito, right? Tapos nga, yung sa mga areas na hindi nagpa-vaccinate, may localized outbreaks and possible multiple rounds of updated vaccination. So yung 2 rounds ng vaccination, good lang for 6 months. So patuloy-tuloy tayo magpapabakuna to protect us against COVID-19. People have got to realize that hindi to mawawala. Ganun-ganun na lang. We're going to be able to manage it because of modern medicine and vaccines. But it's not something that will just vanish out of the window. Dapat natin itong matanggapin na realidad na to, na it's not going anywhere. Not right now. It's here to stay. One of the essential factors governing the future of COVID-19 is our immunity to the illness. Yun eh. Diba? Kaya tayo nagpapavaccine para mag-develop ng antibodies to fight against this sakit. Immunity to any pathogen, including SARS-CoV-2, isn't binary like a light switch, ha? Instead, it's more like a dimmer switch. Diba? Parang hihinain lang yung papahinain lang yung sakit, yung kung gaano katindi mo makakapitan ng sakit, right? The human immune system can confer varying degrees of partial protection from pathogen, which can stave off severe illness without necessarily preventing infection or transmission. In general na, The partial protection effect is one of the reasons why the four known endemic human coronaviruses, the ones that cause a common cold, have such mild symptoms. Noong 2013, a study in BMC infectious diseases shows that an average between the ages of 3 and 5, part of the first wave of infections that young children experience, di ba? 3 years old and 5 years old. Sandali. Ako ba yung nakikita nyo? Sandali lang ha. Kasi nasisira-sira yung broadcast natin, yung live stream na there's something wrong with the connection. But anyway, so going back to what I was saying, yung study ng BMC infectious diseases shows nga that the average humans are first exposed to the common cold, yung mga ganyan, between ages 3 and 5. Part of the first wave of infections yon. These initial infections lay the foundation for the body's future immune response. How well are the children ages 3 and 5 respond to these viruses? As new variants of the endemic coronaviruses naturally evolve, ang immune system has a head start in fighting them off, di ba? Not enough to eradicate the virus instantly, pero enough to ensure that the symptoms don't progress much beyond yung cold, right? Nangangati yung ilong ko talking about the virus. Sorry. The virus is also its own enemy. Every time it infects you, okay, it tops up your immunity, okay? Hello, Miss Telma Ilagan. Ay, salamat, nakakita na ako ng pangalan na umakyat. Kanina kasi nag-lock, nag-freezing screen, tapos nawala yung broadcast 2 beses. Hello, Miss Telma Ilagan. Nice to see you. Happy Friday. Okay, so according to Mark Veldholm, immunologist sa Portugal's University of Lisbon, sabi niya, the virus is also its own enemy. Kasi daw, every time it infects you, it tops up your immunity, right? Past studies make clear that partial immunity can help people from getting seriously ill. Totoo naman. Hello there, Delia Tenorio Balmores, and Jojo Bueno is watching from Dublin, Ireland. Thank you for coming back to the show. Thank you. Kamusta kayo dyan sa Ireland? Kamusta ang situation nyo dyan ng pandemic? Hope everybody is well and doing fine. Okay, as much as we're all coping with this pandemic, and this is what we're talking about, how to cope, right? And what to expect in the next coming days or years, right? So, yun na nga. Past studies nga say that na yung pag may partial immunity ka, it can keep you from getting seriously ill, even as coronaviruses successfully enter your system. Long term, the same is likely to be true for the new coronavirus, diba? Sabi ng Emory University postdoctoral fellow Jenny Levine, modeled SARS-CoV-2's post-pandemic trajectory based on the 2013 study data, and her results were published in the Science magazine on January 12th of this year. It suggests that if SARS-CoV-2 behaves like other coronaviruses, it will likely morph into a mild nuisance years to decades from now. So, sabi ng mga specialista, they're looking at this virus being milder, na expect natin na para na lang siya ang treatment niya is parang a common cold sana, right? Or yung fever or flu. This transition from pandemic to minor ailment, however, depends nga on how the immune response to SARS-CoV-2 holds up over time. Yun na nga, at kung paano ang effect ng vaccine sa atin at kung paano nga magbibuild ng immunity sa lahat, right? Okay, immunity is waning but certainly not gone. Diba? So dapat tayo, in fact, it's even possible that one of the cold-causing coronaviruses sparked a serious outbreak in the 1800s before fading into the litany of mild, commonplace human pathogens. Yun na nga sabi nila, yung common cold, di ba noon, naging serious, pero ngayon hindi na. Based on the spread of its family tree, researchers estimated in 2005 that the endemic coronavirus OC43 entered humans sometime in the late 19th century pa pala yan na-infect mga tao. Like the early 1890s. Grabe, ganun katagal yung virus na. The timing has led some researchers to speculate that the original version of OC43 may have caused the Russian flu pandemic of 1880, which was noted for its unusual high rate of neurological symptoms, a noted effect of the COVID-19. Oh my God. So ito na nga, nag-evolve na itong mga virus na to into this present day. Ay, nako. Current vaccines should still work well enough against emerging variants, such as the B117 lineage, which was first found in the United Kingdom to prevent many cases of serious illnesses. We're talking about the vaccines now, diba? Vaccines and natural infections create diverse swarms of antibodies that move into many parts of that work on many parts of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, which means that a single mutation can't make the virus invisible to the human immune system. Yung mga mutations or mga variants may produce future variants of SARS-CoV that partially resist current vaccines. However, in a pre-printed post ng November 19, updated on January 19, Duprex and his colleagues, ito yung isa nating resource person, shows that mutations that delete parts of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein region prevent certain human antibodies from binding. How sad. So ang tinitingnan natin to, of course, no, now that we are in this phase na andyan na yung mga vaccines, ang kailangan natin expected is paano ang epekto nito sa ating lahat, sa mga tao, right? How well we're going to build the immunities against this COVID-19. So far, currently authorized vaccines, which spur the production of high levels of antibodies, seem to be effective against the most concerning variants. Moderna vaccines, ayan sabi nito, ito yung sinabi ng mga specialista from Harvard School of Medicine and this other resource people. Sabi nila that noong January 19, researchers showed that antibodies from 20 people who had received the Pfizer, BioNTech, or Moderna vaccines didn't bind quite as well to viruses with the new mutations as they did to earlier variants, but they still bound, suggesting the vaccines will still protect against severe illnesses. Yung mga bagong variants bring other threats as well kasi. Some such as yung B117 from the UK, it appears to be more transmissible, mas madaling mahahawa than the earlier forms of SARS-CoV-2. And if left to spread uncontrollably, ito na nga yun, these variants could make many more people severely ill. So yun na nga mo sinasabi, kaya nga mas mabilis ngayon nagsaspread itong mga bagong variants. Tsaka yun pa mas serious pa daw ang effect. These variants could make many more people severely ill, which risks overwhelming healthcare systems around the world and even higher death tolls. Oh my God. They said that the new variants also may pose a greater risk of reinfection to recovered COVID-19 patients. See? So, hindi porke gumaling ka na at saka nagkaroon ka ng vaccine, hindi ka na magkakaroon ulit. Pwede ka pang ulit magkaroon, mahawa, ma-infect, right? Researchers now are closely monitoring the new variants. If vaccines need to be updated in the future, sabi nila, it could be done quickly, in roughly 6 weeks, for currently authorized mRNA vaccines, such as those made by Pfizer and Moderna. That timetable, though, doesn't account for the regulatory approvals that updated vaccines would need to go through. Dahil marami pang proseso, right? Sabi nga nila, we're going to have to live with it. We're going to have constant vaccination. Yan ang ating future nitong pandemic. Constant vaccination, and we're constantly going to have a very sophisticated molecular surveillance program. Contact tracing would have to be implemented. Well, okay. Okay, now let's go to how to prepare yourself, okay, and your money for COVID-19. Paano natin handa ang sarili natin? Ito na nga, di ba? We're already going through it this first quarter of the year. Mga negosyong nawala, mga negosyong umusbong, mga negosyong nagpatuloy, at mga trabaho nitong pandemic. Many people experienced economic and personal shocks last year. Kami included, our family business, right? Pero sa akin, excuse me, ayan, napag-usapan yung virus, tsaka flu at common cold. Lahat yun. Wala po ako. Anyway, nangangati na, kanina pa ako nangangati. Ilong ko. Kasi it's init eh. Natutuyuan ako ng pawis. Hindi pa nakakabit kasi yung aircon ko dito sa sala ko eh. Kaya nagtitiis ako ng electric fan. Kaya tinan yung wind-blown hair. But anyway, it's really... So yeah, so I'm saying like many many people experience economic chaos nitong the past year. My own family business included, which is the food business, yung mga franchises. Ang kapatid ko, 200 franchises closed. There were extensive job losses, thousands of closed businesses, astonishing death tolls, and even large numbers of people hospitalized or unable to work because of COVID-19. Pero ako nga, glory to God and the provision, ako nga, in this pandemic, mas magkaroon ako lalo na mas maraming trabaho actually. Because of this, because of ito, Buhay Online, because of being on the internet. Because most of the work that I do is online and requires it doesn't, yung dating face-to-face encounters ko, pwedeng gawin nga virtually via Zoom. Pero, the economy reacted to all this trouble by slowing down, leading to a virus-induced recession. Totoo. Hello there, Tita Agnes. Nakita ko na rin yung pangalan mo. Hi, Tita Agnes. Welcome to the show. As always, our diligent supporter, Tita Agnes Lakap, and also Tita Pri Maniago, and the Maniago family, and si Jaye Maniago, si Layla, mga nanonood dyan sa Bacolor, sa barrio. And again, hello Telma, and hello Delia Tenorio Balmores and Jojo Bueno, watching all the way from Dublin, Ireland, and the other people who are watching that I cannot see the names. Thank you so much for your support. So we're still talking about how we're dealing with this pandemic and now how to deal with our finances, right? Don't be a budget hater. The economy is recovering. Markets came back pretty quickly and some jobs have returned, even though unemployment remains at an up, in a high, there's still a high surge of unemployment. The governments have provided some quick economics assistance, diba? Yung nga yung mga stimulus, yung mga ayuda, but the election, and now dito sa atin, election is coming up, diba, next year. Oh my gosh. And nahaluan din ng politics tong ating the way we take care of our our virus situation. Ay nako. Anyway, okay, what do we do? How do we prepare ourselves and our money and our finances this year, in the days to come, because we're already in the first quarter of the year? Well, plan. That's what I say. Planning to survive harsher setbacks will be essential for getting through another COVID-19 wave. Dahil, diba, it's been a year, but we're still in this pandemic. I mean, like I said, some businesses have thrived despite the pandemic. A lot of businesses closed down. But then, like I always say, let's not mull over what we've lost. Let us value what we have now and then plan to see what else we can do for the future moving forward, right, in this pandemic. So planning is important. The first task is to make sure that you have an emergency fund in place. Yun na nga, di ba? Yun ang importante talaga eh. Dahil nalaman na natin itong past year, di ba, kung ano nangyari. Di tayo talaga handa. Nobody was prepared. Nobody saw this coming. But now, we're in a better position na medyo kasi pwede na napaghandaan. Yung mga nagpatuloy pa rin nagtrabaho at nagpend ng mga negosyo, siyempre magtabi kayo ng emergency fund. Preferably up to a year's worth of expenses in cash or highly liquid investments. Yan. Pag-ipunan nyo na itong darating na taon, right? To realistically accomplish your savings goal, especially when your income is variable, save a percentage of your income rather than a set figure. Tama. Set a doable percentage, lalo na nga tama yun, lalo na yung mga income na hindi fixed na, hindi, ito lang ang sweldo mo, ito lang, alam mo na kung magkano yung tatanggalin mo doon. Yung mga variable or paiba-iba, depende sa laki ang, kunyari, ang benta today or not, percentage na lang ang iset aside mo. Set a doable percentage and follow it religiously to provide a nice cushion to fall back on. Diba? Para meron ka talagang fallback at pagdudukutan pag kailangan. Additionally, people should reduce their debt loads and try not to take on any new significant debt this coming year. Yun na nga, wag muna mangutang, wag muna bumili ng bagong kotse, kasi you're healing the past year, the transpirations diba? Next year mo na yan gawin pagka nakaipon ka na. Right? Finally, everyone should reevaluate their well-prepared financial plans regularly as 2021 goes on to make sure they are in the best financial situation. Diba? Where do you start? Ito. Paano tayo magsisimula? First, take a look at your budget. To optimize your financial plans, review regular expenses, and tapos cut nyo yung mga hindi kailangan, unnecessary items, tanggalin nyo. Yung mga luho na dati ine-enjoy natin bago mag-pandemya, alisin na. It's easy to forget automatic payments, di ba? So yung mga automatic payments, wala. Given na yun, tinatanggal na yun yung mga loan. And those unwatched streaming channels can add up, to a lot of extra money going out annually. It is important to review these expenses. Pero naman sa akin, okay naman. I cannot do without the Netflix, not for anything, at least hindi naman masyado mahal yun. Kaya nga, di ba, ginawa pang mas mura ngayon ng Netflix or yung mga, yan, at may iba-iba pang lumabas mga tubi na pwede ka manood ng mga programa. Pang patanggal din ng boredom to sa pandemya, right? So, okay na yon. Basta piliin nyo na lang yung mga luxuries na ine-enjoy nyo dati na tatanggalin nyo. Right? It is important to review these expenses kasi to make sure that the items paid for are actually used. Otherwise, cancel or discontinue them, right? But not my Netflix. No way, Jose. Next, review your portfolio. Certain stocks took a particular beating this year, while others, such as general healthcare and medical stocks, did well. Diba? For obvious reasons. Diba? Hindi na natin kailangan diba? Self-explanatory kung bakit ang healthcare and medical stocks umakyat. It is a good idea to review and fine-tune financial portfolios. Ngayon, dahil there is still flexibility itong taon na to. Given the interest rate environment, consider planning for other portfolio income too. For example, pwede mong tingnan yung possibility of buying traded real estate companies. Although there are still risks that should be considered on a case-to-case basis, many of these names have sold off due to the pandemic and are trading at attractive values. Diba? Equally important, in times like this is avoiding reacting solely out of fear pagka yung mga market shifts occur. Financial advisors can help those worried about their stocks and explain what can be done without reacting in panic. Ano pa? Paano mag-ipon? Max out your retirement savings para sa ating mga seniors or mga retired. Many individuals discovered that as their jobs or employers disappeared in 2020, yung mga nawalan ng trabaho, mga kumpanyang nagsara, they were suddenly and unexpectedly retired, di ba? Those who found themselves suddenly retired, max out your retirement savings. Given that ongoing risk, retirement savings must be increased to the fullest extent possible, right? Savers must be using them far sooner than expected, as some people have decided it's worth to retire early. Those who already retired and are approaching mga 72 next year should also prepare for required minimum deductions, okay, in their financial plans. Sa Amerika kasi, in-increase pa nila yung age ng retirement. No, when I was living there, noon 65 years old ang retirement age. Ginawang 67. Ngayon yata 70 na, kaloka. Kasi nagtatrabaho pa. Hindi nila pinapa-retire hanggang kaya mo at gusto mong magtrabaho doon, pwede yan. Okay? So next, review your tax situation. Review your tax situation. If April, di ba, ayan talaga, itong April tax season, right? So, review your tax situation, okay? Tingnan mo yung, if your kung ano yung mga taxes na hindi withhold, it may be a good idea to make an anticipated payment, di ba, sa fourth quarter ng 2020 to reduce the payment shock in April, itong mga tax time, right? Basta, review your tax situation. Diba? Ano pa? Kung may insurance kayo, review your insurance policies, right? When times are uncertain, it is vital that insurance coverage be adequate and up to date. Talaga naman talaga. Lalo na, diba, alam natin lahat na pagka nagka-COVID ka, you will have to spend at least between 200 to 1 million. Yun na nga, sabi nila, kaso nga, di ba? So, dahil sa nangyari, mahirap mayaman. Ang problema, wala ng facilities, wala ng kwarto, wala ng kama. Nagkakaubusan, right? I mean, hospitals are full. Yun na nga, which is yung nangyari sa ating colleague na si Claire. She had to wait for 3 days in a tent by herself, dealing with the anxiety of having COVID-19 to the point na inatake na sa puso ang aking kaibigan. Hindi na nakaabot sa room na inaantay niya. Mayaman yun. Sa Alabang pa nakatira. So, walang difference. Yun nga lang. Tsaka, if you talk about yung mga palakasan, whatever, she was, I'm sure she had a lot of contacts pero hindi talaga siya nakakuha ng kwarto. But, of course, we connect that to pag may insurance kayo, makakatulong sa pagbayad pag kayo ma-hospitalize. Pero pag walang insurance talaga, yun na nga talaga. Kung wala kang pera, mamatay ka na lang sa bahay. But actually, nowadays, diba, because of the fear of being contaminated sa mga hospitals, people who don't feel well, they don't go na to the hospital. They use yung mga, meron ng mga doctor apps ngayon for consultation or nagpapagaling na lang sa bahay kasi nga takot makakontract ng disease doon. Okay? So those are the ways that we can save our money, right? We should look at your budget, plan your financials for this year. Okay? Prepare for it kasi nga meron na tayong 1-year practice itong situation sa pandemic. Alright? So, experts agree that transitioning beyond the pandemic depends on the prevalence of immunity nga, especially among older and more vulnerable populations. Younger people, kasi especially children, will build up immunity to SARS-CoV-19, CoV-2 over a lifetime of exposure to the virus. Yung mga bata. Today's adults have had no such luxury. Kaya ang mga adults, ang immune system nila mas mahina and exposed. The exact threshold for achieving population-wide immunity that slows down the virus spread will depend on how contagious future variants become, diba? But so far, research of early variants of SARS-CoV-2 suggests that at least 60 to 70% of the human population will need to become immune to end the pandemic phase. So, naintindihan natin, dapat 60 to 7% ng buong mankind ay immune na para mamatay itong pandemic na to. This immunity can be achieved in one of two ways. Large-scale vaccination or recovery from natural infections. But achieving widespread immunity through uncontrolled spread comes at a terrible cost. Hundreds of thousands more deaths and hospitalizations around the world. If we don't push forward vaccines and champion vaccines, pag wala tayong mga vaccines na patuloy na i-develop, we have to decide collectively how many old people we want to die. Diba? Sabi ni Jeffrey Shaman, an infectious diseases expert ng Columbia University, he points out that the global push for vaccines also exposes existing inequities in global health. In a widely shared map from December of last year, the Economist Intelligence Unit estimated that rich countries such as the US will have widely accessible vaccines by early 2022, which may not happen for poorer countries in Africa and Asia until late 2023, yung mas malalakas na vaccine. Efforts to vaccinate the developing world hinge in part on vaccines that can be stored with standard refrigeration, such as the vaccines under development by Oxford, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson. Diba? According to the World Health Organization, estimates some 40 million COVID-19 vaccine doses have been administered, no? Pinabigay na around the world, mostly in high-income countries. Yun na nga eh. Nauna sa high-income countries, of course. In Africa, only 2 countries, Seychelles and Guinea, have started providing the vaccines. And in Guinea, a low-income country, only 25 people have received the doses. Nakakaiyak naman yan. Pero hindi ba kita niyo yung ginawa ng Israel? Alam niyo ba yung story yung yun? Nagbayad si Israel ng doble. Kunyari, let's say, $50 a dose lang, kunyari. Yung injection, yung, kunyari, Moderna or Pfizer, nagbayad siya ng $100 per vaccine. At binili niya para sa Israel. At yun, binigay lahat sa tao ng Israel. Ngayon na, sa Israel, hindi na sila nagmamaskara. So, anong ginawa niya? Nirisk niya yung economy by buying those things. Parang nilockdown niya yung economy ng isang buwan or something. Pero tapos yun, binaccinate lahat ng tao. So, yung pagbaba ng economy nila, nabawi naman nila ngayon dahil ni-reopen nila yung economy. Function na lang lahat ng tao. Halos walang nagkakasakit, I guess, dahil naka-mask sila. And then the businesses are going as usual. So parang kaagad sila makaka-recover from the ginastos nila to buy double price ng vaccine, right? Vaccine hoarding kasi in rich countries uso. It will only prolong the ordeal and delay recovery ng Africa, ng India, right? Sabi ng World Health Organization. Kasi nga, mabagal ang pag-roll out ng vaccine kasi nga, yun na nga, nag-hoard yung mga countries that can afford to buy it, right? As the vaccines roll out piecemeal, kasi utik-utik worldwide, countries likely will issue a patchwork of vaccine mandates and certification requirements for international travelers. If the virus becomes endemic and ultimately spreads similar to common colds, however, vaccines might not be necessary forever. Yun na nga, pag naging milder na siya, pag naging na lang, parang cold or fever. But even researchers' best projections run into the foggy uncertainty, separating the present from the future. Talaga. Kasi questions of reinfection, transmission, the post-pandemic health burden, and viral evolution will play out for years to come. So yun na nga yan eh. Dapat nating isipin na it's not gonna end soon, alright? We are still gonna be in the pandemic and we're still gonna be dealing with this, right? The COVID-19 has impacted the world socially and economically. Efforts are ongoing to combat this deadly virus. Kaya lang, the vaccine rollout gives us a new sense of hope. Kaya lang mabagal in some countries, but at least ayan ang hope. People are concerned about how to survive not only during this crisis, but also to thrive beyond this pandemic era. We have seen abrupt changes affecting the livelihoods of people and the nature of their work. Yung mga nasa industrial and educational sectors have adapted new formats and approaches and adjusting to the new normal. Yun na nga, lalo na tayo sa Pilipinas, di ba, naging online education na tayo, tsaka modular. Digital transformation could give an edge to businesses against their rivals, whereas technological integration allows a shift in teaching methods and students' learning experience at educational institutions. Yan ang ating ginawa this past year, di ba? Digital transformation, technological integration sa trabaho, sa pag-aaral, saka sa buhay. There's a clear sense of direction for post-pandemic economy paramount to this, right? To survive and thrive, di ba? Also, anong ginawa natin? This pandemic has also allowed a lot of people to acquire new skills. Acquiring the right skills is crucial more than ever, di ba? Napaka-importante. According to the Future of Jobs report in 2020 by the World Economic Forum, rising top skills by 2025 include critical thinking, analysis, and problem solving. Skills in self-management such as active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility are also in high demand. Yung mga online coaching, online tutoring, mga webinars and Zoom meetings, Zoom trainings regarding how to cope and how to develop more skills in this pandemic. The adoption of these new technologies will drive future growth in many industries and will create new job opportunities. Diba? The future of work also requires new skills and capabilities from the workforce. Digitalization, importante. The work processes allows people to work remotely, yes. However, this could raise issues in terms of productivity and the well-being of employees, which already came up about. Pero, sabi nga natin even if matapos tong pandemic or whatever, a lot of companies may consider keeping this work ethics, yung working from home. Siguro kahati-hati. So, more than 1 year into the pandemic, we all must recalibrate our lives, importante, and continue to improve our performance and achievement. Like I said, don't mull over what we've lost. Stop sulking and thinking about, naku, dati nang walang pandemic, ganito. Tapos na. Tapos na tayo dyan. It's been more than a year. We have been living and we have lived and survived for us survivors, yay, right? And we're still continue to strive to survive in this pandemic. Yun na nga, kagaya nitong picture dito, tulong-tulong tayo, di ba? Nagkaroon ng sense of unity ang mga tao worldwide dahil sa pandemic. We are more caring about and more mindful of other people's needs and sensitivities. We find strength in each other, of course, in our faith in God. More than 1 year into the pandemic, despite the challenges, right? We are in this for the long haul. We have to know na hindi to matatapos bukas, di ba? We are still developing new vaccine. We're still testing and we're still researching, and then we're still finding out new ways to make more money, to earn more money. This has given us the time to think about what else we can do, appreciate what we have, at doon sa mga negosyo na patuloy na namamayagpag even before and after the virus situation, good for you. Pero marami din mga nag-usbungan na bagong negosyo, especially online. Let's be more creative, let's be more positive, right? And keep on working towards our future, living in this new normal, right? So please know that we are in this together, and we're in this for the long run. And we should remain hopeful and searching for the light at the end of the tunnel. Maraming salamat for joining me today. Thank you sa mga nakatutok today at sinamahan ako. And God bless everyone, and please keep the faith, hope, and love alive. This too shall pass, but not right now. We just have to live with it and move forward. And expect better times. Look forward to better times ahead. Thank you. Have a nice day and have a good weekend. And it is my birthday weekend. I'm going to enjoy it by being with my loved ones, of course. I will miss my Manila family and my siblings. But I will be making sure that it's going to be a happy birthday in this pandemic with safety protocols. Thank you very much and have a good day, everyone. Happy weekend.
Inyong natunghayan at napakinggan ang mga makabagong pamamaraan sa mundo ng online sa pamamagitan pa rin ng Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat po.